Hi everyone, welcome again to Bake Your Way Kitchen. Today I'm going to make for you a delicious square. It's a chocolate butterscotch square. And let me tell you, this is a special occasion treat. And let me just warn you in advance, it's very good, but it's very sweet. So if you're not a huge sweet tooth, which I don't know if there's many of you out there, but if there are any, this is not the video for you. Now, if you wish to proceed, I will continue. So this recipe, it's pretty simple. Looks like a lot, but it's really not. The first thing we need to do is take butterscotch chips. Now, I'm using Chippets, Hershey Chippets here. I know they're called morsels or something down in the US, and they might be by Nestle Toll House. Butterscotch, these will work. This is about 300 grams. About 1 3/4 cups. So you'll want to use these, and we're going to need to melt it with that and a little bit of butter. You can use salted or unsalted, whatever you prefer for that. And I've got a can. Now, I know the standard size cans in Canada are a little bit different. I'm using sweetened condensed milk here. My can is 300 milliliters. Now, I think if I'm not mistaken, the US size is a little bit bigger than the Canadian, but it's not that much bigger, so don't worry about that. You can use the standard size sweetened condensed milk. It should be roughly 300 to 400 milliliters. If it's a little less, a little more, fine. This recipe, it's not critical to be exact. Okay, I'm going to have to come back because the thing that pulls it open failed on me. Okay, so I had to get the sweetened condensed milk out with a can opener because the little flap failed on me opening. So now I'm going to put this in the microwave for about 1 to 2 minutes. You want to take it out every now and then. You don't want to just leave it so that the bowl overheats and anything burns. So you just want to keep every minute or so, mix, and then just keep watch of it in the microwave. Or as an alternative, you can use a double boiler where you put a glass, stove-proof, or that's safe to go over boiling water. If you have one of those, or if you have one of the official double boilers, use that because that way it avoids burning. You could do it directly on the stove, but it is more prone to burning. I'm going to be right back with this. I'm going to do this after. In the meantime, though, we can get on with everything else. So what I've got here is a cup of butter, which I softened too much. I kind of came home and I didn't have the butter out, so I had to put it in the microwave, and then I lost track of it. And I put it in till it was a bit on the runny side, so you want it to be soft to the touch. So preferably have your butter out. Now, you could use salted or unsalted here. If you're using salted, you can omit the salt that is added later on. So, you want to give this a creaming. I mean, because my butter is pretty much liquid. Well, it's not all liquid, but I got a little too much liquid. But you want to give this a good little creaming. Now, I have here some 1½ cups, 195 grams of flour, and half a teaspoon of salt. We're just going to quickly whisk together. I should have put this in a larger bowl. No big deal, as long as I can get a little bit of that in. That's pretty good. I've got it pretty soft. You want it to be on the soft side for this recipe, the butter. So it shouldn't be just a little bit of a give. You should definitely be able to, like your fingerprint should almost go through the butter. Like your finger should almost go through the butter if you try it, because it should be that soft. So that's pretty good. So now I'm going to add in the sugar, and this is a lot of sugar. On top of the condensed milk and butterscotch, I know what you're thinking. Rare occasion, it's absolutely fine. 2½ cups. I kid you not. So that's about 460. That's over 1 pound of brown sugar. So, and we're making this in a large square pan. What I like to do when I make things like this is bring them to workplace, and sometimes I have on occasion done a bake sale at my school, because I am in a technology program. Anyway, so you want to give this a good mix. There's a lot of sugar, so it'll take a little bit of time. Alright, we're almost there. You can see this is what you want it to look like. Just give that a good whisk. Just for a couple minutes to make sure that there's no lumps in the brown sugar. That they're all whipped out. Now we're going to add the eggs one at a time. You could do two at a time. I just think so that it just better incorporates when you do one at a time. One more. Almost there. I'm going to now add in a little bit of vanilla. Wow. It's a little bit stuck. Good. Alright, give that a whisk. And that's pretty much it for the wet ingredients. You can add as much or as little vanilla as you want. I added probably about a teaspoon there, but you can add up to a tablespoon really. So now I got my flour and sugar, flour and salt, not more sugar. Flour and salt and some cocoa powder. So the cocoa powder is about a third cup. Third cup, please. Make sure you listen to that. There we go. And I'm going to switch to my spatula because I don't want to get too much air. When you use a whisk, you're incorporating air into the batter that you're using. So you want to try to avoid, when you finally add your dry ingredients, you want to make sure you're doing slow motion, making sure you're just moving it to combine. There we go. And as the dry ingredients are getting incorporated, we'll add in some walnuts. These are like pieces of walnut. You can use whatever nuts you want. I'm adding chopped walnuts, and if you want for enhanced flavor, you can toast your nuts on the stove. That really brings out the flavor. And then we've got some oats, and this is 2/3 of a cup. There we go. And we're just going to continue to whisk. There we go. It smells good. Trust me when I say that. So we're almost there. We're pretty much there right now. There's just a few more spots, but this is what it should look like. It doesn't look like much right now. Might not look very appealing, but let me tell you, it's very worth it. So now I'm going to come back with the butterscotch filling melted, and I'll show you the next step. I've got a 9x13. If you wanted them a little bit thinner, you could use, if you have a larger than a 9x13, you could do that, or you could try to, you might be able to, I can't guarantee it, you might be able to, you can definitely do it in two 8x8s if you prefer, or you could do it in, you could try two 9x9s, it might be a bit of a stretch though. Because what we want to do, I have the oven preheated to 350 degrees, 180 degrees Celsius. And I've greased this pan. This melted. Now the butterscotch, it only took, those three things together, it only took, for me, 40 seconds in the microwave. I checked it at 30 seconds, I stirred it, and it only needed another 10 seconds, literally. So how this is going to work, we've got the chocolate base here, and what we're going to do is spread half of it, or approximately half. You don't have to weigh it. I would normally weigh it if it needed to be exact, but just the approximate half of this batter. And what we're going to do is spread it evenly at the bottom of the base before putting on the top. So what I like to do is just start off just a little bit, and okay, let's start off with that. So I can always add a bit more. So I always start by just using the spatula that I always use, and then I go to an offset spatula. And if you don't have an offset spatula, you can use a knife just to help spread it out evenly. Now with regards to the pan, you can use like a casserole or a baking pan. It doesn't really matter too much. You don't need to grease it too much because there is already a lot of fat in the base and the filling that there's not much of a likelihood of it sticking. So I'm just going to continue to spread this out, and you just kind of, it doesn't need to be perfect, but you do kind of want to get as much as possible for it to be a uniform, even layer. There we go. And, well, let's go with that. Let's see how that goes. I might add a little bit more. This isn't perfect, but whatever is. There you go. Alrighty. So now I'm going to do the next layer, and please do use a different spatula if you want to have, if you want the layers to look not mixed up. So now we're just going to add this over top. Oh boy. So the easiest way, because this is very thick, oh my goodness. What am I doing? Why am I making this? There we go. Now, it should spread itself pretty easily, but here we go, try to get each little drop out of there. And it's okay, it's not the end of the world if you get a little bit. You might get one layer kind of, the chocolate layer kind of seep into the top, but just try to avoid it as much as you can. I'm just going to continue to spread this out because this does take a little bit of time and patience. Now it's time to add the top. So now the easiest way to do this without making a mess, and as you can see, I've already made a mess. It's not perfect, the filling, but there's going to be a chocolate covered in the top so you won't really notice it. So try to just put dollops of the topping around, because what happens is if you just throw it all in the center, what's going to happen is you're going to end up mixing the layers too much. By doing dollops, you make the job a lot easier. So you just continue to spread it out as much as you can. Maybe get your hands in there just a little bit, because we want this to be as even as possible. That was a little too much for one go. It's a little optimistic to do that. There we go. I probably used about 60–65% of this chocolate mixture on the base layer because I will still have a lot of openings. You don't have to do this. I mean, you can do it how you want. I mean, this is the purpose of the channel, is you can kind of adapt to your choosing. So I'm just going to try to spread it more towards the center, and then kind of have the exterior kind of have that butterscotch. You know, that's just like right on the spot. That's my thought. That, you know what, you don't have to have it perfect. People I give it to, they don't care. They'll take what they can get. Kind of, they just like, I think everyone likes to receive something that they like. Cooking related, baking, like something food related being given to them, they really do appreciate. And it's not much about the look, but about the effort. And I think, or at least for me, maybe it's different for others in other areas, but for me that seems to be the case with most of the people I meet. Okay, so it's not perfect. I should have used a bit more of the chocolate base layer on the top, but I'll work with this. And so anyway, so this is going to go into the oven, 350, for about 20 to 25 minutes. Sorry about that dog in the background. It's not mine. Anyway, I'm going to put this in and I'll show you what it looks like once it's done. You want it to start to bubble, and you will notice that it does rise and develop a little bit of color, as you can see. I hope you can see that. I will share pictures of it, what it looks like cut sliced. It's very sweet, as I said, so you can cut it into small pieces. It's very good. I highly recommend you give it a try. It's so chocolatey, and then that butterscotch in the middle is just, it's a perfect pairing. It's a rich pairing, but I would highly recommend it if you're looking for a sweet treat. This is a great recipe. I hope you give it a try.